really downloading the Globe Observer mobile app and then going out and doing the 6 pictures that you do at each point. And so the nice thing is inside of the app, once you sign up, you then go through some training, and it tells you what to do, what to look for, and so that just tells you everything that you need to know to kind of get going with that. And so we can walk you through, make sure that you are part of the team, and then we'll talk about that study area, piece of things of where do I go, what am I doing, and that's probably the most confusing part to start off with things. But so Callista, have you downloaded the app, and have you done that piece of things, or?
Yes, I downloaded the app and I did my 6 observations. I think some of mine I didn't do the advanced classifications.
Perfectly fine.
I can add them in. I just didn't see that step then, but now it should work fine from now on.
Yeah, you have to do that extra badge, which takes more time. And so yeah, I found that it does double the amount of time that it takes to, you do the photos and then you label them. And so it does double the amount of time that it takes. And so you're exactly right. That's one of those things that we're going to be talking about is, well, what do we do if we don't have those labels? Or, because about 40% of my photos have labels, maybe actually a little bit more than that, but I don't have time to do that all the time either. And so, that's one of those things that hopefully the satellite view and some of the other information that's out there we can use, right? So it's not just us and everything that we do. So the photos are really kind of the important thing that we'll start off with, right? So since you've done that, let's see. I want to go and take a look at our C's 2023 team, right? Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen for this just to take a look at, and I'm going to bring it back on this screen so that I'm actually looking at the camera. All right, so that was June 7th. Let's just refresh this so that we get the most up to date. All right, so we have 50 members, and yeah, we've gone up. We have 205 locations. So this is really interesting to see where all the photos came from, right? And so since you kind of mentioned where you are, we should be able to zoom in on this point over here and see at least where the initial data is coming in, right?
Yes.
And
interrupt, but right now when I see your screen, there's just like a thin white rectangle and I can't really see.
Of course, yes, I see that now. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Yes, all right. So that's what happens when you have multiple screens. It was still hanging over the edge right there. Okay, so I zoomed into our team map right here, and kind of looking in this area. So it does look like there's at least a couple locations that came in right here, and and so we should be able to at least double check right here, or look at those, right, and kind of double check your data that way. But we should also be able to go down here, right? And let's just double check and change this out to see almost everybody, right? Okay, so Callista, what was put in the chat your Globe ID, or that user ID right there.
Okay. I put it in the email, but let me try to copy and paste.
Oh, yes. Yes, I see it right there. All right. Okay, that's great. So I need to change my screen a little bit right here so that I see things. Okay, wait, there we are. All right. I see my green banner. Okay, so I am just going to do a little look, and it does look like only, so one photo or one observation kind of, came up here. And so you should be able to click on that. And right now you don't see the same thing that I do. So I need to change my share to that. Okay. So here's, what happens when we click on this. It does say that there's 7 observations up here. So that's, kind of interesting, right? Well, like when you're at that map level, you may not see all of them. So this is a good double check to see what is actually gone up. Right. And so this was kind of that purpose of that first just getting to know and going out and that activity where keeping track of where you go and how many photos you took allows us to skip through and kind of and look at, oh, okay, so your up photo is in there. But it looks like, okay, another directional photo is in there. But you notice how this doesn't actually tell us which direction either. And so, but we can go through and at least confirm that, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. So we're missing possibly a down photo so we're missing the down photo and another directional photo. And what this means whenever we see this icon is that it's under photo review. And so this is something that since the algorithms aren't always good, and they're looking for people's faces or certain numbers or text or some things like that. These don't have anything that look like that. So they went through the system and they were approved without a problem. But this one it probably doesn't have any text in it, but there was some combination of things that confused the algorithm that sort of flagged it and said, oh, hey, we want somebody to look at this. So it's stuck in the queue right now. And so Callista, this is one of those challenges that happens when you have somebody else managing your data, right? And so one of the things to recognize is this delay in between when you take your data and your observations and then when you can actually do something with them. And so this is a little bit of a learning lesson of both the value of archiving and putting it into a database like what NASA has versus just keeping it on your own computer and having it to yourself and what you would be able to do and kind of how you would be able to do things a little bit quicker. Make sense?
Mhm.
All right. And so one of the things that that I wanted you to do in that second table when you did your first observations was actually here you can start seeing all of the data that was created when you did this particular observation, right? We can see the elevation that's there. We can see some coordinates that are there. We can see some weird site name kind of thing. And so we see, there's a lot of these attributes that are there that, and in particular, we can start grouping things together by the team and all the team data, right? So this is a kind of a nice way that you can just double check and see what ended up in the database, right? And so Callista, this is great. I see like everything that you've done right here, especially with the labels and even those points, right? That's all really good.
Thank you.
So yeah, so what I see, I mean, just me kind of looking at the data that you submitted, I feel like you got trained pretty well. And these labels right here are things that we can I'm trusting you right now that those are right, but but this is what we'll be doing together over the next couple of weeks is how do we check this? How do we make sure that what you put up there is kind of right? And what can we do with this label that you've put on that east picture, right? And so that's where having those labels is really useful. But that if you don't have it, what do you do? And that's kind of that research question that we're getting into here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I really like, what you did right here. And so now what we want to do is set up your area of interest. And you'll hear me say AOI a lot, but that just stands for your area of interest. But it's just going to be a small area around you that you can go to, and you can take these photos and you can do the photo points on the ground at particular locations, so that we can then take that to the satellite data and start combining together what you see on the ground and those pictures and what we see up in space.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Okay, so let me, I'm going to bring in, I'm gonna quickly pause this right here, my recording. Go here and say, I'm going to continue the recording right there. Okay, so Callista, what we want to do is go to a particular website that we have created that allows us to create our sample area. And I need to just go back to my Google Slides here and just get the right links. Okay, here it is. Okay, so let me go back to my Zoom here and hit share screen. And we'll go to, this was the Google Doc, or the slideshow that I showed on Wednesday, and I'll pass this on and get this attached to what we're doing. And so, so the big idea here that we need to sort of create is we're doing this thing called multi-level sampling. So it's really just kind of a fancy way to say that we're selecting a big area. And then, since we don't have time to measure every single thing inside of this area, we then just kind of, are going to do a sample of that. So we're just going to go to 36 locations where you're going to go and you're going to use Globe Observer and take photos in, the best that you can in kind of this grid fashion. And then next week, our next activity will be looking at that same location from above and then labeling those things, right? And so we can then, get an estimate if you're looking in the north direction. Oh, do we see the same trees as what you took a picture of in that, in that area? And so, so that's what, what our goal is here. And but to do this, like I said, we're first need to find out and sort of pick a random point to start our grid creation. So the way that we go about doing that is by going to this particular website, and I am going to put this in the chat right there. And so here, I'll actually just keep my screen going and you can follow along. Right? Okay, so if we follow that link, we should go to a page that looks like this. Right? All right, give me a thumbs up if you got that. All right, that's great. Okay, so now, the next thing is, I find it best to sort of just use this plus side to zoom in, right? And so you want to zoom into your location, where you're located. So, do a good job. And for me, I am, say I'm in Corvallis, Oregon. I'm just going to pick a spot, but you zoom into your area, and you should just keep going until you can start to see some of the streets, right? And if you need to, you can always open up like maps.google and kind of reference yourself and kind of see what the area looks like through either that view or the satellite view. So I'm going to, we're sort of, with using that website, we're sort of testing you a little bit because there's no way to just like enter in a coordinate or anything like that, right? So it might be a little bit challenging to at first, but hopefully you can find yourself. And I am trying to go back to my tab. Yes, okay. And okay, that was a different one that I did. But if we go back, if you need to redo anything, you can just hit refresh with it. Okay, so that's a good thing to know about this map. But like I said, so if you don't know where you are, study another map and kind of get to know that area, and then go here and zoom in. And if you click on the map, you end up getting something like this, like this dot of points that show up. And so that's one way you can create a random grid, is just point at the map and you'll get a random set of coordinates. Or what I encourage us to do in our Seas project, just because it's a little bit more fun, is to zoom in on a park that's near your house or near your area that you can access, so that you at least know that you can get to to that center point, because it's on public property. It's accessible. And you'll find that sometimes a random point will put you in neighborhoods or on people's houses or places like that. So we are directing our sample a little bit to this location, but luckily there's enough randomness when you click that point that it works for for our analysis. So so if I was to I wanted to go to this particular park here in Corvallis, Oregon, I just click a point and I now have my area of interest, my study area that I'll be working with for the rest of the Seas program. All right, so were you able to do that?
Yes.
All right, so that's great. So hopefully you have something that's very similar to what I have, which is now we have this center coordinate, and that was, if we just zoom right back in, that's this middle point that you clicked on the map. And then we have a whole group of other coordinates that represent this spacing. And those are the places that you want to try to get to take your photos. And so we want to record and make sure that we have these so that you can make a map of those places, so that we can then attach your photos to those locations, and then we can start comparing it to the satellite labels for that location, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the next thing that we want to do is go here and right mouse click and download that CSV file. And just download that to your computer file. Mine usually goes into my downloads folder, but you might make one for the Seas program, because we'll be doing a lot of downloads or that kind of thing too. So if I right mouse click and I save both of those files, one is called sample grid, and that's that second one, and the other one is sample points.
Do I download both of those links?
Yeah, download both of those links, because one of the things that we'll talk about is geometry. And so when we zoom in here and look at our area of interest and what was created here, we have these point locations right there. And so those are just XY coordinates. And so they are what these things are right here. And that's what is in this sample grid of points. Mm-hmm. And we'll open this up and look at this together here, what I downloaded. But then the second file is all these rectangles and squares that are on here. And so those are things that represent an area or a polygon. And so what's actually, when we zoom in, this big area is that 3-kilometer area that you'll be working with that we'll summarize here. And then each one of these little squares inside of here is about 100 meters by 100 meters. So, and so that's it. When you remember the instructions from Globe Observer, that's kind of the size that you're trying to take a picture of, right? And you know, if we look at some of these locations here, and start thinking about going to them, oh wow, this one is right on top of the Valley Library. Well, I'm probably not going to be able to get up on top of the library to take a picture, right, with Globe Observer. And so here I would probably, you know, get as close as I can and stand at the base of this building and take a picture and do my Globe Observer there. And then I might also walk around to the backside of this building and also take a picture in that direction. Right. So, and this is that random piece that we don't have control over where these points end up. And so when you're going out to take a picture of them, like this one over here is in the middle of a street. I'm going to zoom in over here. And so again, you know, thinking about safety, we'd probably not go to the middle of the street and take our picture, right? We'd probably stand on the sidewalk where it's safe, or and you know, get near that, but not directly on it because of that safety issue. So when we look at your points, you know, just kind of keep that in mind that you know, there's some places that we can't get to. But you know, you want to kind of just get an idea of on the ground, you know, what do these trees look like? What do these buildings look like? What does the road look like down here? Right. So that's basically our goal right here with that. And so, you know, with these two data files now, and keep this page open because we'll want to go to another website where we want to just collect some of the information about where your area is and get these two files so that we can put them all together across all of our group right here, right? Okay, so to do that, what we did is I set up this Google Drive right here, and I'll put this into the link into the chat. Right there. And so hopefully you can click on that right there and open it up, and you should be able to see this file or something like this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one thing that you'll notice in here is that everybody used the same website, so the name of the files are all exactly the same. And so we need to come up with a numbering system so that we can keep everybody's files separate. Okay, so what we ended up doing was creating I believe it's this one, a simple little form that you can fill out, and that way we just make one table that has some information about it. Okay, and then we'll rename the files. But the first thing is actually we can do this already, but what I'd like to do is go here and go, not there. Let me go here and, oh, all right. Let me go to the Mighty Networks really quick.
I think someone shared the links.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, there's the spreadsheet. Let me see, where is the, no, not that link. Interesting. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have you go to this one.
Oh, I filled out that form, I think.
Oh, you did. Okay, great. Okay. So yeah, let's actually just double check, and I will actually just refresh this really quick. And so, so here is our responses for our C's team this summer. And so I'm going to go down and let's see. I don't see your name in here, Callista.
I think mine is on the 6th row.
I know what I'll do. I'll just do a search, a find. Maybe.
If you go to the 6th row, I think that's.
Ah, okay. Great. Oh, yes. Okay. So here you are. Perfect. Okay, so this is really good. Okay, so this is an example of what to do. Yeah. And let's see. So is that you right here, this anonymous Ifrit?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, so here this is a really good sort of thing that sometimes a form is a good way of organizing things, but sometimes we have to hand enter and update that. And so here, let's go in and from that other table or other the web page where you created your grid.
Mhm.
Let me just go back to mine right here. Copy this number, which is the latitude. This the second number. Copy that and put it into there. Yep, exactly. And copy the other number, the longitude, and put it right into that column J. Perfect. Okay, that's great. So there we can put you on the map. And one of the other things that we can quickly do is, oh, okay, so the numbers that you entered are, similar to the ones above it and below it, right? So just kind of a quick check of I put things in right. I'm getting the same sort of reasonable numbers as everybody else. Those are all good checks to do. Okay, so this is good. So we now know that you are a certain AOI number. And so, now what we want to do is go to the files that you downloaded on your computer.
Mhm.
Okay, and we want to just rename that and put your AOI number in there. And you can see people did it in all kinds of different ways. So all you really need to do is make sure that you get the number in there. And if you do it the same, like here, this person started it off with the number. That's actually pretty good, because then we can sort on just the numbers and they will group together, right? And compared to like right here, some of them did it afterwards. So we're going to have to do a little file cleanup with this, but but that's kind of the key here is just put that AOI number inside of there. And then you should be able to drag and drop those two files into our shared Google Drive here, right? Or if you need to, you can go file, new, and do that upload option that way.
Okay.
All right. And I can sit here and actually, let's see, last modified. We'll go and we should be able to see your files come in and change the directory. And that's how you know that, that you'll have completed that. We confirm that you're part of the team. Perfect. All right. There they are. That's confirmation right there in near real time. So this is excellent right here. And so one of the things that I'll be doing a little bit later is showing, well, what do I do with this? How do I actually go to these places? How do I know where I'm supposed to go to?
Mhm.
So one thing I recommend before we actually close our session is to actually, kind of just zoom out here on something like this on this map. And you can kind of zoom in and out, but somewhere on your screen, now do a screenshot of that whole window so that you do have a reference for what was created. And if needed, we can hand enter these things, but that's a good way of kind of getting that. And then it does kind of give you a sense for where you can go and what your study area is going to look like. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that pretty much is where we ended on Wednesday with creating our area of interest, creating our sample locations that we want to go to, and since one thing that you could always do is just start with this very center point, right? Like that. And that's part of the reason why we tried to pick somewhere that you could go to, because then you can, that's the first place to try to get to and just see how it is. How, is it challenging? Can you get to that place? And then let us know on Mighty Networks or, on our shared space there, if you have any problems or anything like that. But I'll be making a little video to show you how to make a map out of these coordinates so that you can actually just, because you can actually, take these coordinates like this. I'll just give you this little tip right now and say, go to my, or Google Maps, that's what it is. Maps.google.com. And this is just one way that you can do it, but you should be able to just go into the search and paste in those coordinates. And you notice it went, oh, okay, well, let's try going to that location. Mm-hmm. And so then it drops a point right there. And one of the things that you can do is you can save that as a bookmark so that you can go there. The other thing that you can do with something like this is say, give me the directions. And so you can actually type in your address or where you're going to be and get walking directions to somewhere near there, right? So so that's why having that list of point coordinates like that is really helpful when you can put them right into a map thing like this, and you can then navigate and you can figure out like this one. If I turn on the satellite, I see that it's actually behind a dairy farm. And so I probably won't be able to get to that one. But I see, there's a street right here. And so I would probably, zoom in here and maybe actually go to that location.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
That's very useful. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah. And so, that's basically our homework for this next week is trying to go out and take 36 observations there, or 37 with that center point that you have. And then next week we'll basically start looking at those same locations, because you'll have shared where they are, and you'll have those photos that we can start looking at and then pull up what the satellite looks like, or what the satellite picture of that is.
Okay.